Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session, Unleashing the Power of Salesforce with Microsoft Office 365 add-ins. My name is Rene. I'm with Salesforce, and I brought with me my friend, Marky. He will introduce yourself later on. Before we start, forward-looking statement, whatever you will learn in this session, don't make any buying decisions. You know that, right? I have to say that. Marky, who are you?
My name is Dr. Mark Roden. I'm Principal Architect at PSC Group. I'm an evangelist for Microsoft and IBM, and now starting to look at Salesforce. Generally, I make a lot of trouble. And I would also strongly recommend that nobody makes any purchasing decisions based on the quality of this man's beard.
I'm the far better looking guy in the session, right? Am I? Yeah. Okay, I'm working as a senior developer evangelist for Salesforce in EMEA, focusing on everything app cloud, mainly mobile, identity, integration, so basically everything. And that's why we are here about. So nowadays, when we talk about enterprise systems, we are talking about integration, right? So users don't want to move between applications, like copy and paste a field from application A to application B, gonna have to go to B or to C. That's just not what users expect nowadays. They want a seamless experience. So most of you have probably Office 365 or Gmail and Salesforce, right? That's why you're here. And both integrate very well. Marky will show what Office 365 has for capabilities, while I will show afterwards what you can do with Lightning.
Okay, thanks, Rene. So what is Office 365? Well, once upon a time when Microsoft was trying to rule the world and make it all about themselves, you had to buy a license for your Office clients, you had to buy a license for SharePoint, and for virtually everything else you had to buy a separate license. A lot of things had to be installed on your computer. But over time, they've realized that that really wasn't working. So what they've done is they've moved to this subscription model of Office 365. So for $8 or whatever it is per month, per user, you get access to Word, PowerPoint, Excel, but you also get SharePoint, OneDrive, and things like this. So what this has forced them to do is force them to move to a web-based model. So back in the old days, if you wanted to enhance the functionality of Outlook, it only worked in Windows, and it had to be installed as an executable on each individual particular application. But now that they've gone to the web, you can have Word online, you can have PowerPoint online, you've got Outlook online. They needed to change the model up, so you write functionality to enhance the client, whether it's on the client or on the web page or actually on the mobile device itself. So Office add-ins are now a web-based capability. It is just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And it runs in the context of your Office application. And as we'll see today, it's going to run in whatever environment you have. But it's mostly JavaScript. This is why I care about it, because I'm a JavaScript web guy. And what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to enhance the experience of the user so they don't actually have to leave the context of what they're actually working in. So what we're going to do today is I'm actually going to do the demos of what is possible, and then Rene's going to show you how you could do it for yourselves. Okay? So let's take a simple example first. So oftentimes we have applications that send emails with links to, hey, go take a look at this. And then the user has to click on that link, it goes to the intranet or the web page, whatever it is, they have to log in, they have to go find what they're looking for. They've lost the context in what they're working in. So if you're trying to send them to a web page, let's take a look at a web page that you're trying to send them to. You want, hey boss, go look at this particular chart. Okay? So for a start, if you were going to try and draw a chart like this inside of Outlook natively, you're going to have some fun doing that. So this is just a web page, and it happens to be responsive. So I make it smaller and smaller, and I can see my chart. Well, wouldn't it be nicer if within the context of an email, it knew that you were looking for bug reports, and if you actually clicked on it, it just pulled that in right there. So I've not left my email. Once upon a time, everybody thought that executives would use a corporate intranet. And that's not true. No, they don't. They use Outlook. We were also told, stop using email. No, email is dead. No, it totally isn't. Email is still the #1 way that we get the information that we use every day, except developers and Slack and all that. But, non-developers use email all the time. So much better to be able to surface the information through the context of the application they already use. Okay? So the smart thing about this is you don't want 50 different add-ins appearing along this bar. Because of the word bug reports in this email, we can actually detect and we can actually make the add-ins contextually appear and disappear. So if you've got a finance add-in, you could actually just give it to the finance group and it would just appear for them, or different individuals or different groups of people. And the best part is, as we'll see in a minute, it's deployed from the cloud. So you make one update in the cloud and it gets pushed down to everybody almost instantaneously. So now what I want to do is I actually want to show you just a very quick example of what is an add-in, just so you believe me. So this Napa Cloud application is what Microsoft use as an example that you can put within your developer tenant. So you can just mess around and build your own. So I'm going to call this whatever, doesn't matter. I've misspelt it. That's always good for demonstrating that this is live. So I have a web-based IDE, which I'm sure a lot of you are used to these kinds of things. And I can go, right? And I'm going to deploy it to my environment. And it is as simple as that. So what this is now going to do is this is now deploying it into my development environment. It's opened it up within Outlook Online. And if I go take a look at any one of my emails, I now have this add-in. And within that add-in, it's actually got access to some of the information from the email. Via JavaScript, Microsoft has exposed a lot of the functionality that you find within your Office clients just in JavaScript. So you don't have to learn another language that you're not already familiar with. That's that's Outlook Online. Well, you remember this in Outlook? Well, that was it. It got pushed down there as well. I'm not logged into Napa through the client. I'm not going to waste my time. But the idea is it's there. It just got pushed just like that. And if I want to remove it from my environment, I just click it again. Now, for actual production deployments, it takes about 20 seconds as opposed to 10 seconds to be able to do this. Your administrators can control it very, very easily. So, web pages. The only thing that is stopping you is your imagination on what you can do with your existing applications and your users' day-to-day experience. So let's take this page. That isn't styled very well. There you go. Right, so imagine this is just a general example HR capability, and I could go in, I could edit my information, or if I was a manager, I could go in and do some expenses. This happens to be hosted on an Azure website, but it doesn't really matter. It's just a web page. Well, wouldn't it be easier to just be able to do this, and it comes up in Outlook? Now, because of the way it's styled, the users don't know it's a web page, nor do they care, frankly. They really, really don't care. So this add-in has just given me all of that functionality within Outlook because it's just a web page. This is where the integration really starts to take all sorts of interesting potential, especially for the people that spend all of their day working in their Office clients. Let's jump back over there. All right. So, how does this relate to Salesforce? Okay, so what I have here is I actually have an app based on Heroku. Hang on. That is pulling down data from Salesforce via the REST API. As you can see here, the data is coming in, and this is what it looks like. It's standard JSON REST API information that I'm getting out of Salesforce using the APIs. Not very complicated, but it's a web page, and it's also a responsive web page. So I don't know, if I was going to put it in, an application, it might look nice. Well, let's pull that up in Word. So I'm going to pull that web page up in Word, and because it knows I'm in Word, it's actually going to give me a couple of extra buttons, and it's going to force me to log in. There we go. So it's the same application. It's pulling the same data in. And the application is written in Angular. But I now have some extra buttons because I'm in Word. So imagine we have a standard Word document. There's a template that you're going to send out to customers, and you want to be able to pre-fill it. And we've all done, well, a lot of us have done Word document creation, automation, that kind of stuff in many different ways. What this gives us is a way to interact with the Word document and actually back out with the cloud. So what I can do is I can take this information about GenePoint and replace it up into the document. Just a simple search and replace. What I can also do, if I make this ugly, just to demonstrate that we're going to do it, I can actually push this button, and I can actually send that document back up to Salesforce. Now, I don't know why you would do this necessarily, but what it does is it demonstrates the fact that you can. So you could actually start to create a whole sidebar application within your Word document or in Excel to be able to actually interact with your information in Salesforce. Okay, so if we just go take a look at that there we go, pull that back up, pull that over there. Let's go into Salesforce, let's take a look at our files, and you can now see there's my document that I just sent from Word, and I actually put it into Salesforce. Again, the only thing stopping you here is your imagination of what could you possibly do with this. All right? So now let's take a look at Excel. It's exactly the same add-in, but now I know that I'm in Excel. I'm going to give me slightly different functionality. And what it's going to do, it's going to be able to give me the ability from GenePoint to insert that data into my Excel spreadsheet and fill a chart. Now, there are lots of ways to build charts in Salesforce as well, but some of your users love Excel, and they will never stop using Excel. All right, so rather than trying to build their complicated Excel sheet in the cloud and send it to them, why not just give them the data they're looking for and have them build it for themselves? And if we take a look at the code that's built very quickly, you see I have an Angular-based application, and I basically take the data from Salesforce and reformat it. But then all I do to build the Excel spreadsheet is very similar VBA or COM or ways that we've interacted with a Word document before. It's just written in JavaScript now. So this exposes it to a whole new set of developers like myself. All right, so last demo. Let's take a look at this guy, Rene. So what Salesforce have created is this add-in to Outlook. When you open it, it basically logs you out into your Salesforce cloud, and it takes a look at Rene. It can read various bits of the email, including his email address, and it goes, oh, Rene, who's that? I have absolutely no idea. Oh, okay, well, let's add Rene actually into my Salesforce tenant. Let's call him Mr. Joe, whatever, doesn't really matter. So I've now taken this contact, and it's now in Salesforce, and I haven't touched Salesforce. This is so much more of a better user experience and interaction for the people that want to be able to do that. So if we jump back over and take a look within here, and we take a look at our contacts, we can now see Joe Beard in Salesforce. But we can actually take this another step. If I actually put Joe Beard into GenePoint and save him, when this Outlook add-in opens and looks for him again, it now knows that he's associated with GenePoint. It now knows the opportunities that GenePoint have and the open cases. All this is doing is it's a web page, and it's building you a web-based experience based on that email address and doing integration. But anybody that uses Outlook, like a lot of sales guys do, out of their day-to-day business, this immediately enhances their ability to do their job. And your imagination is the only thing that's stopping you building this for them. So now what we're going to do is Rene is going to show you guys how you guys can build something like that. Oh, what I didn't mention before was not only does it work on the web and on the mobile and actually in Windows, it also works on the Mac.
Thank you. So the important question is how to do it yourself, right? So it's all out of the box, but what can you do, or probably how should you do it? So there are, if the clicker works, nope.
Would you like me to click for you?
No worries, I can handle that. There are basically two different options. First, like Mark showed, use some REST services, Angular or whatever. That's not my preferred way. I would highly recommend that you dig into Lightning Out. Who used that probably before? One. Who is using Lightning? Two. Okay. So, Lightning Out is technology that allows you to embed Lightning components in any web page. That means you can reuse whatever you build within Lightning already in example, Office 365. I click myself.
Okay, why don't you know what you're doing, I don't.
Right, absolutely. Like always. So, when working with Lightning Out, you have to consider two things. Authentication Authorization, you saw that with OAuth, and CORS, or the curse, whatever. So, first of all, authentication, our nice login screen, you saw that bumping up a few times, right? So when working with Lightning Out, you are running outside of the Salesforce context, even if you have native Lightning components there. You will see that really soon live. So it's a thing you have to consider. With pop-ups and credential storage, we have some recommendations for that on our developer documentation. And it's really easy to configure within setup, which has changed also a bit in Winter 17. So when doing OAuth, you basically have to define the callback URL. So when this nice pop-up comes, to which URL does the redirect to have happen, right? You have to define that for security purpose. And as you can see here, it's an app that runs on Heroku, right? We defined a few access rights, so-called scopes, like read data from the web or read API data. So you can manage that on a kind of granular level. As said, we changed it in Winter 17. You have now the app manager, which contains all Lightning apps and all connected apps. Also, when working with Lightning Out, and that has bitten me a few times because I forgot it, that's why I'm highlighting it, is CORS. CORS is a security mechanism in browsers that enables you, or disables, better for security reasons, that remote websites can access your data. So you have to define which website should allow to access your data. That can go from a local host to a Roku app or an Azure website. It doesn't matter, but you have to define that, otherwise we will block it. Okay, so let's go live. I think that's the most important part. So what you see here is an app, a Node app running on Heroku, where I've implemented a simple button, a simple Node application. I'm doing the OAuth dance, and what you will see right now here is Dreamhouse. I hope you know our Dreamhouse application. So we're just reusing a slightly modified version of our Dreamhouse Property Explorer right in a Roku app. So it's all Lightning, running on a third-party website. And you don't have to run it on a Node app. It could be just a simple HTML website, and you will soon see why. Like I can do, everything like, going for C and filter. All functionality that you've built in Lightning is reusable right here. So I have a button here replace in Word, and that's on purpose, because in the Office add-in that I will use, I've referenced to my Heroku app. So let's fire up Word. I have Word on Mac, right? I prefer Gmail and Quip, but that's his thing.
Yeah, loser.
So here is my Heroku app on that side. Same behavior. I'm going to log in into Salesforce. I have to enter my really long username.
Someone's going to regret having a really long username for this demo.
Yeah, thank you. They have to be unique, darling. Okay. I have my OAuth dance again. I'm in, and you see the Lightning component natively within Word. So you fully reusable. I'm going to select now a property, and let's see. This is a button which lives in my Node application. So it's not part of Lightning. But I can easily, if I did it right, hooray.
You broke it.
That's a problem with live demos, isn't it? Not search and replace. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry,
It's
it
just
should have
really
waited.
slow.
Should have waited. Wi-Fi. Now we have a few more properties, right? So, but the important part is that I have selected data in the Lightning component and can reuse that data in a button that lives outside of my Lightning component. So we enable also interaction between our Lightning components and the website. So let's take a look how we are doing this. First of all, a Lightning component is relatively easy to define. You have your Aura application with a global access, and you extend that with Lightning out app. That defines that this is an application which is allowed to run as Lightning out. New with Winter 17, we're automatically applying the Salesforce Lightning design system to all components that are within this Lightning out app. So you don't have to style everything and to take care of static resources, all that stuff. No, not needed. We just apply that. Also, you have to add an Aura dependency resource. Normally, you would add in a Lightning component, you just add the components, right? Not in this case, it's a dependency. Everything that lives in here is just a standard Lightning component, just as you want to build it. Doing your controller calls, getting data via Apex, everything else. The funny thing is that we have here an event. And this event is a global application event and takes just a string parameter. So that means I can just use this event within my Lightning component to do something. And in my case, I am doing, when I select a property, I'm firing the event and I'm passing all the selected properties as parameters, right? As you would do in Lightning. So standard stuff for every Salesforce developer. The question is, how can we leverage that in Lightning out in our HTML application that resides outside of Lightning? And this is basically really easy. So the only thing to use Lightning out within any web application, like Office 365, is that you add a $lightning.use method. You pass the name of your Lightning app. In my case, it's a configurable variation of my Node app. You pass a function that creates a component, and we take care of everything else. You don't have to do any more, right? You define which component should it be. Like if an application contains more components, you can change that. And this is really neat. You can pass a function, a callback function, where you define, hey, I want to listen on this global event, on this global Lightning event. And if that gets fired within Lightning, please pass it back to getForce data forward. So what is it? That's a local JavaScript function for me. And this allows you to pass data between and for Lightning and your local HTML website. And that's basically it, right? So when I select a property, it automatically fires my local JavaScript event. I'm storing a local variable and can just reuse that then later in my print force data forward method, where I do the simple search and replace. All your Office 365 stuff, thingy, whatever.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a real Angular or...
It's a search and replace. It's as simple as that.
Right. So you don't have to be an Angular or Material or whatever developer to really leverage all your stuff. You can reuse all your stuff that you did in Lightning, or where you used Visual Force within Lightning, whatever, within your Office applications. right? So whatever you did, you can just reuse it. And I think that's the real power of the system.
Yep.
Review.
Man, we got through that a lot quicker than we did when we were practicing it.
Yes, well. Ladies first.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, so going back to, I don't know if you guys noticed on the previous slide, when you actually do the insert into Word, you're actually inserting HTML into Word, so you have control over formatting. The Word document itself is not a web page, so there are limitations on what you can do, but you have control over formatting and where the information goes. Okay? So it's just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which is why I care. I'm not a .NET developer. I will never be a Microsoft fanboy, but I love this because I'm a web developer. And I'm not a Salesforce fanboy yet either, but I'm working on it. And again, I've repeated it multiple times. Your imagination for what your users want. They want to not have to use the context of the application they're working in. And if you can deliver that to them, and you will make them more productive and you will make them happier.
Right. I would vote for using Lightning Out, especially when you're using custom objects. I think a few of you do probably. You should really go with that because it makes it really easy to use all that stuff that you built for Salesforce within Office 365. It's no double development, and that's why I really love it. Right? You don't have to do things twice.
Right. So
that's so far.
Does anybody have any questions? We have 3 minutes.
Oh, we're in time. Awesome. If you have no question, you can follow us on Twitter, not here, right? And, well, you can do it.
Please
we are still around here.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Enjoy the rest of the day.